Welcome, everyone. I'm Julianne Meyer, host of Own Your Wellness. I am so excited to be here. Sorry about the technical difficulties. 100% my bad. It helps to go live when you press go live. Anyway, I don't want to waste any time. I have got the most fabulous guest here today. Her name is Renee Reisch, and I had the privilege and the honor of meeting her over the summer, last summer. And I just want to have her on right now. I don't want to even do an introduction because she's so amazing. I want you to hear about her from her own voice. Let's bring her on. Hey, Renee. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Normally I want to do like a fun intro, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just bring you on and get going because I don't want to waste any time on the little me jabbering around. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and your own wellness journey?
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, it's just an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and to share our voices together. So imagine, I'm going to ask your audience, not knowing if you would ever speak again. Imagine not knowing how you will communicate. Imagine not knowing that the last words you spoke may have been the last words you would ever speak. Now imagine the impact you get to make on the lives of others when you do. I lost my voice to an illness in 2013, and doctors didn't know if I would ever speak again. That illness affected me physically from the multitude of sores on my vocal cords, emotionally, because I was unable to be with my loved ones, and mentally, because doctors couldn't help me and I had no idea how to help myself. So we know life is a journey, not a destination. And this is really a story of finding my own voice in the journey of life.
That is so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I love that. So I'm just thinking, because I'm more familiar with your story than some of the audience, but I was just thinking about COVID and how other people weren't able to be around their family and you were you had to go through that already. So it probably wasn't as big of a surprise for you on how to deal with that. Or am I completely wrong?
I believe, somebody actually asked me if I was having like a PTSD kind of a thing when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Because I had gone through it in, 2013. This is an interesting time as far as, the isolation. I didn't initially think of it that time when it first happened in March of last year with COVID, because I had my voice and I didn't have the pain that was the physical pain of not being able to, to have your vocal cords riddled with sores. So I didn't have that, flashback of that, the isolation piece for sure. When you look around and you see the streets, which they were completely empty, nobody was allowed to do or be anywhere with anyone. It was, similar in some regards to not being able to be with people because I couldn't be with my loved ones. Everybody was like isolated. And in that regard, to your point, yeah, that was definitely similar, but nothing else as far as the pain that I had experienced at that time was taking place. Thank God that my health is, knock on everything, is here, knock on everything, because without your health, literally nothing matters. Nothing matters. And we take it for granted. You say, I'll see you tomorrow, talk to you later. Okay. There was no talk to you later, see you tomorrow. I was literally pulled out of life.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you even remember what the last thing you said was? Because it's not like you're expecting to suddenly, your life to change so drastically, so quickly.
So this is really interesting, this question. I had done a podcast earlier today, and the interviewer asked me the question on the other end, which I didn't know the answer to either, and I don't know the answer to yours. She said, what were the first words that I spoke when I was able to speak? And you said, do I remember the last words I spoke before not being able to speak? So how ironic, and nothing is, and I'm going to tell you, no one has asked me either of the questions on all the podcasts, and I've been on a lot in the last several years. On all of them, no one has ever asked me either of these two questions, and you both laid them on me within the last 2 hours. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Well, even the fact that you're here and the way that it came about so quickly was a miracle in it of itself.
Yes.
So it's
True.
kind of bookending.
I mean, it's literally unbelievable. So I, as I said, I don't know. I don't know what the last words were. I do remember laying in the ER on a gurney and asking the ER doctor, because I was taken to the ER by my best friend who's watching over me right now from up above. And I remember laying on the gurney, and I had a little bit of a voice left that was very painful to speak with because my vocal cords were, were riddled, as I said, with a lot of sores. And I remember saying, am I contagious? He literally looked down at me, and I write this in my book. And he looks at me and goes, oh, you're highly contagious. You can't be with the public. I literally will never forget those words because, Julianne, you know me. You know how much I love to love on people and to embrace them and to literally hug them in person when I'm able to see them and to be taken out of life. It's like, not only are you contagious, don't even think about being with the public. Like, what? It was unfathomable for me. It's not like I was a hermit and I didn't like to go out. I was, going to seminars, and I was invited to different, events, and I was just all over. And at that time I wasn't, but you know me now, that was 2013. I wasn't going to events. I was in corporate America, but I like to be out in public. And my corporate job at that time was actually being with the public. I was a manager in, for a Fortune 500 company. And I had multi-million-dollar teams that I was responsible for. So I was with the public every single day. And I had teams that I was responsible for taking care of every single day. So that to me was like, are you kidding me? I couldn't even say that. I think I was laying there in shock, literally in shock. I mean, I knew I was sick, and I just didn't know how bad it was. And I had never heard anything like that in my life, that, you can't be with the public, and then not to have a voice associated with the pain was like a triple, a triple threat.
Yeah. To put it mildly, I would say, my goodness, you don't know this, but I was exposed to COVID. So I had to self-quarantine for 2 weeks, which is not, it's only 2 weeks. It's not like I couldn't be on Zoom or Facebook or, FaceTime or any of that. I started to go it really affected my mental health, and it was only 2 weeks. So, obviously you were dealing with this for quite a while. How did you deal?
You know what? Not too well. I fell into a deep depression. It was pretty horrible. So it was, like I said in the beginning, I wasn't able to be with my loved ones. So, you're sick, and obviously you don't really want to be with somebody if you're sick because you don't want to get them sick, so but the thing that was really hard is because when doctors couldn't help me and they didn't say, here's your, take this for 10 days and come back in a week and we'll see what's going on or whatever. There was nothing to take. There was no magic pill to take or anything. So it wasn't like there was anything I could do that was helping me. That was kind of mind blowing for me because I had no answer. I can tell you I had about 20 vials of blood drawn in 3.5 months, trying to figure out what was happening and why, there's got to be an answer to what she's going through. And there was none. So that sunk me in a deeper depression because there was no way out. It's like you're in this black hole and you can't see the light because there is none. And you can't even get creative. Like, what can I do? Not what you can't do. I always try to look what you can. I was in such a bad state, physically, emotionally, mentally. I was just sinking deeper by the day. And I'm surprised they didn't stick me in the hospital with an IV because I couldn't eat. I couldn't
I was
drink.
wondering.
Don't wonder, I couldn't. What I did do, my best friend, I'm Jewish, I kept kosher at the time. She would cook me like kosher chicken and bring it over with a mask on. And I never knew when she was coming, but she knew I would always be home because I wasn't allowed out. She'd come up my stairs with a mask on and drop off food that she had cooked for me or bought for me, or something like applesauce or Jello, something that was going to be easy to slide down, or chicken that she made that would give me some protein. And she knew I wasn't eating. She knew I couldn't because she was with me. She had taken me to the ER. She knew the pain. I knew that I was getting worse by the day. And food was not something I looked forward to, because when you can't swallow your own saliva, not like let me sit down to dinner. It wasn't something that was a thought. And I really wasn't even hungry because I couldn't think about putting anything down my throat. So, but I did, because I knew, and I did write this in the book, I knew the love behind what she was doing was far greater than the intensity of the pain I was going through.
Could you please repeat that one more time? Because I feel like that's something that needs to be highlighted, bookmarked, however you want to put it. That's a beautiful statement.
Her love for me was stronger. I'm not sure I'm saying the exact words, than the pain, the intensity of the pain that I was experiencing.
That is so beautiful. And I'm guessing that because of her, in part, that's part of the reason why you're here now.
Oh, not in part. I would say, well, she had a partner with the powers that be above, I would say. Between the two, the universe, whatever you want to call, God, source, I recovered. I was quarantined for 4 months, with no contact with the public. And it took close to 1 year and a lot of vocal coaching for me to fully regain the use of my voice. It was a trying time, to say the least. I didn't understand it, Julianne. I didn't know why you were going to say something. Go ahead.
No, go. Because I love where you're going with this thought, so I want you to finish it. You didn't understand it at the time?
No, I didn't, because I wasn't spiritual. I didn't understand. I didn't know if I was being punished, what I had done to be punished in such a great and painful way. I hadn't done anything wrong. I didn't know. I literally did not know what was happening. I just knew that I was very, very sick. I couldn't see my parents. I couldn't see anyone. It wasn't like, go read a good book or go catch up on a soap opera. I literally didn't want to be alive anymore. I did not want to live because it was too great of a pain that I was experiencing. And the depression was, I was in a deep one. So if someone's listening that is going through depression, or is like, well, what did you do? How'd you get out of it? I have a bracelet I'm wearing, which is my best friend's, that I found in her drawer after she passed. And why I went into her drawer and it was on the bottom of her drawer, don't ask. I do not know. I was guided, I guess. I don't know. Why would, yeah, exactly. Why would you go into your best friend's drawer underneath to the bottom of it? Why would you? I mean, I don't know. I have no answer. I do know that I found her bracelet. It's a leather bracelet, and it says, never give up. And she helped me, and I feel the emotions coming. So I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologize. I know that she never gave up. She never gave up on me. So how could I give up on myself when someone like my best friend, exactly my best friend, wasn't going to give up on me. How could I give up on me? I had to fight. And I had to fight hard. And you know what, Julianne? I'm not going to say the fight is ever over because we always strive for greater. Sometimes it's just as Tamara, I know, is listening. I see that she's here. It's being in flow and not fighting, but flowing through life rather than fighting through life. Find your passion, find your purpose, and find what keeps you in flow.
That is so beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad that you're here sharing this with everyone, because you you came through this darkness, obviously, and you changed and turned it into helping other people. So now you know part of the reason why you were able to make it through as well. Um, I just I just want to acknowledge your friend right now, because we all need somebody like that. And like in addiction recovery, they always say you need to do it for yourself. And I was always a firm believer that, well, sometimes you need to do it for somebody else when you don't feel like you're enough reason. And sometimes it's those friends that go the extra mile, that do these things, or family members, whatever the case may be, earth angels, as I love to call them, and so I love that they were able to do that. We're going to go to a commercial break really quick. I am so sorry. We'll be right back. Okay. I got to fix something really quick. I want to make sure we don't lose anything, because this is gold, and we want to talk about what you're up to now. So yay. We'll be right back right after this. Isn't she amazing? Oh, I just love her so much and her story, and I can hardly wait. So we'll be right back.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Everyone, welcome back. My name is Julianne Meyer, the host of Own Your Wellness, and I have the most amazing guest with me today, Renee Reisch, and she is such an inspiration. And let's just bring her back on. Hi, Renee. Oh, okay. So I wanted to give you a second to compose yourself, because I needed a moment too. Oh my goodness, what you were sharing is so special. I got really caught up in the love of your friend. And so I would love to talk about how you have been able to take what was one of the hardest times of your life and turn it into something that helps other people. And you're amazing. I would love to talk about what you're doing now.
Thank you so much, Julianne. One thing I want to say to tribute to my best friend, there's a verse from Celine Dion, and I hope to meet her someday. And it's the song, Because You Loved Me. So the verse, you were my strength when I was weak. You were my voice when I couldn't speak. You were my eyes when I couldn't see. You saw the best there was in me. Lifted me up when I couldn't reach. You gave me faith because you believed. I'm everything I am because you loved me. So I have her, I'm going to leave her. She's in a frame. I'm not going to show you her picture because I always want to protect her. And I have on the other side of my computer, I have the verse in a frame. And I know that four-letter word love is what really helps carry us through in the times that we don't think we can make it on our own. And I invite and encourage people to reach out, because life is not meant to be lived alone. It's a lonely journey when you think you can do it by yourself. And, hats off to those who actually can, but I know I couldn't, and I never want to, because I believe we're meant to help each other and lift each other up. I do believe in giving a hand up, not a hand out, and helping each other along our journey in life.
Really well said. Something that you just said that I really love to touch on is giving a hand up instead of a hand out. One of my spiritual mentors, he always talks about how sometimes when we give to people, in a way, it keeps them down, because all we see for them is where they are instead of seeing where they can be and what they are capable of. So I love that idea, because there's, we do want to help people, but sometimes when we're trying to help people, it's not actually helpful. So, but just making that distinction between helping somebody or, a hand up instead is so beautiful. I love that.
It's really important. And Tamara, if you're still watching and listening, she and I have been friends for a very long time. And this intimacy is into me, I see. And she has seen so much in me, and she's been helping me today with a lot of different things, and just so grateful to her. So I'm going to give a shout out to Tamara. She's CEO and co-founder of Chemo Buddies for Life. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, and I'm one of her ambassadors, actually. So just proud to call her my friend, and just love her so much. So thank you, Tamara L. Hunter.
Beautiful soul. I totally appreciate what she has accomplished, and she's like you. She has turned things that were not so pleasant into ways to help other people, and I just love that. It's anybody that can turn something that is, I don't even necessarily like to use the word negative, because it's uncomfortable and it's not fun, and it is obviously not pleasant. However, that doesn't mean that it isn't for the greater good, even if we're the one going through it.
What I like to say is, what we go through, we grow through.
Yes.
And it's the obstacles that we get to turn into opportunities.
Somebody else said this too the other day, or maybe a while back, or it really, I've heard it before so many times, but for some reason it really stuck with me this time. And it was that the obstacle is the way. And, sometimes I know that in my life, I have tried to avoid things, but when you can't, that's the only way you can go is through it. Then you really do have the opportunity to grow and use the life that you've been given. So I appreciate that, that comment that, it's just so beautiful. So could you share a little bit about your book?
I'd be happy to. Thank you. And thank you, Tamara. So this book, was not something that was on a bucket list or anything that I planned on. I had a lot of people calling me from different parts of the country saying you should write a book. A lot of them were intuitives who didn't even know each other, but were contacting me saying, Renee, you need to write a book. It wasn't even should. It was like, you need to write a book. And this is called Finding Your Voice. Let me move my light here. Oops, there it is. Unlock your chains and unleash your greatness. It's right in the middle of my book. Let me get that out of the
It's funny. It looks like a halo, like an angel halo.
No, isn't that something? I have it right. Yeah. Well, there's an angel next to me and above me. So it's finding your voice, unlock your chains, and unleash your greatness. Quite, honestly, this is not a Photoshop book cover. This is Newport Beach, California. I took this dress out 2 days before, and I knew the pose I wanted because my best friend and I were in San Diego, and I have a picture of her with her hands up to the sky, and then she had taken one of me, and I said, that's what I want to do, because it's like finding your voice, and you're looking to the heavens, you're looking, up above, and it's a really big deal, because I wrote this to serve and support others. In it, it's a short read for those who may not be big readers. If it's a short read and it's a powerful read. In it, I really encourage people and invite people to get the actual book. There is an ebook, but in the ebook, you're not going to be able to write down the answers. I leave literally like 3 to 4 line pages. It's a takeaway. It's called a takeaway after each chapter for you to write your answers down. And I believe in the power of the pen. What comes up will come out. So it acts as like a journal. I pose questions to my readers based on the chapter that they just read. And they're short little 2-page chapters, just very easy read. But I said it's powerful because it's about you. It's about the reader. And I really wanted to make sure that you were here and I was with you on your own journey. That it wasn't just reading a book about somebody else wrote a book about them and yay them and all that, stuff. It's not. Yes, I introduced what I went through in the first chapter, so you know where I'm coming from. But there's other chapters. There's a chapter in the book about how I met Jack Canfield. And he had been on my vision board, and I didn't know how that would ever happen, but he was on there. And it was the beginning of the next year, like February. I was invited to San Diego to an author millionaire conference, writers conference. And I went. I hadn't even written the book yet. And lo and behold, and I didn't even know he was going to be there. He was like one of the speakers. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I took a picture. Somebody actually took a picture for me with him. And it was just unbelievable. I was like, I couldn't even believe it happened. So very honored. And I've had several times where I've been in his presence since then. It's just incredible. You never know. I got Oprah on my vision board too, because, I'm sure a lot of people do. My reason for wanting to meet with Oprah, I see her interviewing me. And actually 2 days ago, I found a picture of me with her as a wax figure that my best friend and we went to Vegas, and she's she's got the microphone in front of my face. I was standing there and I'm like, and I didn't even remember that picture that we had done. I'm like, oh my gosh, it fell out of a book that I had pulled out. It was like a photo album. I'm like, oh my gosh. So now I have that picture out. It's unbelievable. So isn't that something? That was like years ago. So
I love that.
So I feel that's going to happen. And the reason why everyone was like, everyone probably wants to meet with Oprah. My reason is not for any celebrity reason, or not for anything like an ego thing. It's literally because she's a person. She's an everyday human being who went through some heavy crap in her life. And she came through it. And you know what? She's built an amazing platform to serve others. And she had to find her own voice in life after what she went through, being raped and molested and living in poverty and trying to get her voice out there as a news anchor on TV in Chicago, and was told who would ever listen to her. Really? Who's not listening to her today?
Exactly.
So I believe I'm not going to say when she hears about this book, and then of course she's got her book club too. I'm like, oh my gosh, that she would love to read it. And she would also see herself in the pages of that book, of this book. So I would love that. I'm putting it out there. I don't know if anybody out here has access to her, but I've tried, of course, messaging any which way I could. I've tried multiple ways. Also, I also went to the Today Show. And this is something that I sent this book to Hoda and to Jenna like a year and a half ago when it came out, because nobody really knows this. I've shared it with very few, but I will share it because I don't know why I feel the need to. So in this first chapter of my book, this is unbelievable. My dad passed in December of 2018. My mom and my family knew nothing about this book. I didn't share it with anybody in my family because I just wanted to be able to use my own voice and not have any, input from, even though I knew they would want to help me, I just wanted to do me. And whatever, even if I was going to fall and fail, and I did along the way with this, it would be my own falling and failing. And I'd have to get back up and figure out another way to do it. So I did. But what I found along the way is when I was at my mom's house one day before the book came out, she said, "Do you want to watch the Today Show?" I DVR'd, and I said, "Sure, Mom." I sat in my dad's reclining chair, and on it, Jenna comes up. And she wasn't even on it when this book was written. It was Kathy Lee Gifford. And she started talking about her Book of the Month Club. And I swiveled the chair around because I was like going nuts, like squirming in the chair, go, "Oh my God, she's got a Book of the Month Club. Oh my God, you're kidding." And I couldn't say that because my mom didn't know about my own book. And this is unbelievable. You can't plan this. So I'm going to share this with you because like the very first chapter, I don't know if you could see this. Oops, maybe not. The light's in the way. Up, can you see any of it? Can you see
my best friend? Oh, not
where's the
really.
quote?
There it
The
is. My
quote.
best friend. Oh, the quote. It's hard to read.
It
Barbara
says
Bush.
Barbara Bush. I took a quote from Barbara Bush for my first chapter of my first book. I saw Jenna on TV. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" How I wasn't even watching this show. I mean, I would watch from time to time. My mom knew I liked it, but I was busy writing a book. I wasn't watching that. So I didn't even know that she was on it. And then not only is she on it, but she's got this Book of the Month Club. So, and then that was with Jen and with Hoda. When I finally got my book out there, I got into Barnes & Noble in Aliso Viejo, California. And
I love that place. I go there all the time, by the way.
Well, my book got into that store, and it's in the personal growth and development with Jack Canfield and Hoda Kotb. And I'm like, "Oh my God, Hoda and Jack." Like so I had sent my book to the Today Show. Full disclosure, it got sent back to me, both of them. I sent one to Hoda, one to Jenna. And I was so excited. I sent it off with great energy. I wrote personal notes to them. I endorsed the books and wrote Word documents to each of them and tucked it in the cover. And one by one, the books came back and I was crushed. I was crushed. Like I felt my heart sink to below my stomach. I was really upset because I was so excited to send it out to them. And I sent it to 30 Rockefeller Plaza. I put their name on it, two different postages. And I said, "Renee, don't you dare throw these books away. It doesn't mean not ever. It means not now at the time." I said, "You hold on to those books. Don't you dare throw them away." Because obviously I can't resell them to anybody. It says, "Dear Hoda, dear Jenna," I wrote to them. So I have them. And when it's meant to be, they will get their books. And I will hopefully meet with them because I believe it's a powerful book.
Yes, and that's really empowering too, because not now is so different than never. And I love that idea that you allowed your feelings and yet you're able to move through it and realize it's just not the right timing. That's all there is to it.
Because I know this would serve their audience. I know them. I feel them through, when I hear them, they're people. They've gone through their own stuff. And I know that they would really embrace this book, and so would their audience. So I couldn't get myself in a bad state. I had to say, "Renee, it's never about your timing. It's, the universe's timing, God's timing." So don't, take yourself out of the equation and just know that it will happen when it's meant to happen. I know it's become a 4 times #1 best-selling book. Last weekend it became a bestseller again. It's been multiple times. Yeah, I know. Multiple times. I check on it. Amazon doesn't tell me when it's a bestseller. I just like checking on your kid. I go to check and I wonder how it's doing. So I check on it. And then it was like number 58 in the ebooks out of got to be up to the top 100 to be a bestseller. It was like number 58. So I'm like taking screenshots. Then number 20 something. It's been a bestseller multiple times. So I know it's serving a greater good and a greater purpose. So I know that. And I'm grateful to every single person out there who gets this, because it's, again, not about me, but it's about being in service to people who need that and who want that partnership to see how did she do it, what did she do, and what kind of exercises did she have in the book for me to do to incorporate into my own life. So that's why I wrote it. I'm going to say a good friend, Forbes Riley, she endorsed this book. For those who know her, she endorsed this book. And my dear friend also, Shay Vaughn, Vince Vaughn's mom, for those who know them. And also Tamara Hunter, she wrote the foreword to this book. So I'm just
grateful. Oh,
yeah, she did. She did. So grateful. And I'm going to share something about Forbes for those who know her. I didn't know, again, this was not my planning. It was a greater power. I went to a VIP party in Redondo Beach a couple of years ago, and I got there early. And about 10 minutes after I got there, who walks through the door from LAX, LA International Airport? It was Forbes Riley and her incredible fiance, Joshua Self. So they walked through the door. I think I was frozen in the spot I was standing in because I couldn't move. I literally stood there. I think my jaw must have dropped because I was like, oh my gosh, no way. Like how, and I knew I wanted to ask her to, thank you, Tamara. She said she was honored to write the forward. I knew I wanted to ask Forbes to endorse my book. I didn't know how was that going to happen, or just call her and say, hey, Forbes, you want to endorse my book? I could have. I didn't really feel I could have at that time. I didn't feel that I could have. So I saw her there. I said, okay, Renee, just stay. Let her say her hellos. I did. I stood like right in my tracks, basically because I couldn't move. And then and she walks towards me because really nobody was there yet. We were both early. And I gave her a big old hug. And then it was like the parting of the Red Sea. She and I had our moment in time. Joshua came out with us there was a 2-story home, and we were on the first level when you enter. We went out to the porch. We sat down. She starts asking me, what's the title of your book? I told her, called Finding Your Voice. She says, what's the subtitle? I told her. She says, you've got to change it. I'm like, it wasn't this. It was something else. I literally, in my mind, I said, holy crap. Like, what am I supposed to change? She didn't tell me, don't change it to this or think about something like that. She never said. Didn't even give me a clue. Think about maybe something along these lines. I had nothing to go on. She didn't throw me any bones other than just say, change, you got to change it. So really, if it was anybody else other than Forbes Riley, I would have said, okay, and just done what I was going to do because this is my book. Like, this woman is a $2.6 billion industry leader, has done, I don't even know how many infomercials in her life. She knows what she's talking about, written umpteen books. She knows her stuff. So if you're going to listen to anybody, she's a great one to listen to her voice. So the next day, I'm a runner. I like to run. I like to work out. I went for a run because I had no idea what I was going to, subtitle this book. And I'm going to tell you the original subtitle. She said you could write it in the book or on the back of the book, which I did. It was called A Labor of Love. She said, that's great, but nobody will know what it means. It'll mean something to you because it's personal, but nobody else will understand what that means. So put it somewhere else. I did. So I didn't know what the subtitle was. So I go for my run. And I couldn't think of, it's like a 45 to an hour run. I couldn't think of nothing. I'm like, oh my God, I still don't have an answer. So then if anybody out there who does grounding work, I went grounding under a tree in front of my home. And I took my shoes and my socks off, my running shoes. I went barefoot under this tree. I leaned my back up against it. And I said, what am I going to do? I said, Renee, stop it. Get out of your head. Get out of your head and into your heart. Let everything go. Just relax. Just breathe. I did. And then literally, Julianne, it was like somebody whispered the answer, like to the final exam, in my ear. These legs ran as fast because I was afraid I was going to, lose as quickly as I can go. I had 12, 13 stairs. I bolted up these stairs And I got a pen. I scribbled, like I could barely read my writing, but I got it. And I wrote, and it was unlocking your chains and unleashing your greatness. It's been changed to unlock and unleash, which I felt was more of an action word, because my friend Patty Saller, who did the publishing for this, she said unlocking and unleashing. I said, I know, but that's the process. She goes, well, let's think more action. I said, okay, unlock, unleash. That's an action thing. You're taking this step. So it's unlock your chains and unleash your greatness. So thank you, Forbes Riley, for that inspiration. Even though you told me, you didn't tell me what you thought I should do with it, but the fact that I needed to change it is where that came from. So sometimes we gotta quiet our own minds and get out of our own heads and into our hearts.
Exactly. And there's two things that I want to point out too that, I heard you say that I think are worth repeating is, well, one thing is that you said you felt like it was said to you. And to me, that's like God or source or higher power, however you want to believe. It's coming through, not through you, not from you. And that's why you were able to quiet your mind long enough to hear that. I just love that. And then actually something else that I just wanted to share really quick was,
yes,
I interviewed Forbes a while back, and I said something to her. I gave her a compliment, and I'm like, oh, but, and I totally downplayed the compliment. I'm like, well, you already know this. And she looks at me and she says, I still need to hear things like that. I'm still me. I still have my own doubts. I still have my own, insecurities like every other human being. I'm not Forbes Riley to me. I'm just me. And I thought that was such a profound thing to say. But I love that she allowed you to have your answer instead of giving you something, because then you would always be. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. She didn't take it from you. I love that. So I know that you have something coming up very soon. First of all, I wanted to, for people who are watching now that want to reach out to Renee, this is her website. I want to make sure that we get this on here. And also it's available in the chat as well as online. But this is how you can reach Renee. But while have this one up, I want you to talk about, because you have something that when you told me how little you are charging people, I was like, what? This is like the deal of the century. And I'm saying this, I know you're not saying, I am saying that this is the deal of the century. And I would love for you to share with the audience what it is that you're up to and what this entails.
Thank you, Julianne. So I created a voice blueprint, and it's a group coaching program. So it is, yes, reneereisch.com/voice. And for your audience, I've taken it down to $497. It's $19.97 originally, down to $497. When they enter the code VOICE, there's another savings on top of that. So I invite people to join that. I've also created, with the help of my friend Tamara, a Facebook group for this. So it's Finding Your Voice with Renee, to join that as well. And in it, there's going to be some questions, and I have a little bit of things going on with that as well. So connect with me on that, and you could join that. That's going to be an $18 thing. The reason there's a fee with that is because I'm going to do like TEDx style talks with that. I'll be giving content every week. It's going to be a private group just for those people. The first 50 who join will get access to this coaching as well. So please connect with me.
Well, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt right now because I don't think that you are so modest, and I don't think the audience understands what a deal this is. And I know that you would never say this, but you are so driven by giving value to people that I almost feel like, wow, I don't know that people are really going to understand. Like, I don't think necessarily 2,000 or just under is enough. So for you to be only charging this amount to get away the money issues that people may have just so that you can help them. Oh my gosh, I'm just so touched and inspired by this that I just had to speak up and say something, because you have a lot to help and offer the world. And I want you to have the opportunity to do that. And I don't want anybody to miss out. So I love that you're doing this for people, because you've helped people so far, and just being you, let alone coaching. So
Thank you so much, Julianne. That is really very kind of you to say. So I did put it, I didn't want money to be an obstacle or an issue. I know those are the only things that we see is what we put in front of us, but especially with COVID going on, I wanted like all of that to be released and just put it out there for them to join me on this journey. I'm going to be with them every week for 6 weeks. They'll get me right there. It's not a DIY, because I always feel like people could have DIY this thing called life. They would have done it by themselves long ago. And I know I had the love and support of my best friend in my life to get me through such a time that I didn't know that I would make it out alive. And that's not being dramatic. That's being real. Because there was that time that I didn't want to make it out alive. I didn't want to be. So I know those feelings of, the not being enough. I feel that what happened in my own journey, that I believe I actually manifested it in a not a good way. We manifest good things and we manifest things that are not so good, because I didn't speak up in life. I felt I was never enough. The more I gave, I felt the more that people kept taking. And I just never spoke up and spoke my truth or how I felt. So I feel that my voice was physically taken, not from me at the time, yes, from me, but for me, to show myself that you need to speak up in life. And don't let people push you around. And don't let people bully you. And don't bully yourself. That you are more than enough. You are valued and valuable. You are worthy. All of those things. And I think about The Wizard of Oz, and I speak about this because it's one of my favorite shows. I may be dating myself for those that are familiar with The Wizard of Oz. Because if you think about it, Dorothy went to the land of Oz, was on her journey there to look for a way to get back to Kansas. And then she meets the Scarecrow, who was looking for a brain, and he is the smartest one out there, right? Then he was always helping Dorothy and always had great answers. Then they come across that Tin Man who was looking for a heart. Yet Dorothy had to keep using his oil can to oil him, because he cried all the time, because he was so sensitive and he loved so much. And he cried, and she had to keep him oiled. And then they met that cowardly lion that wasn't cowardly at all, because he stood up to the Wicked Witch of the West when she came down to do harm to Dorothy. And of course, she had her dog, Toto too, right? So they get to the land of Oz. And behind this curtain with this strong, powerful voice was this man who they found to be this little man that was there with a strong voice. But he didn't have the answers. All of them, each of them had the answers. Dorothy, those shoes were a metaphoric sign that she had the power within it. Click her heels 3 times and she'd go back to Kansas. They each had the things they were looking for outside of them. They had within them. You each have within you those same powers. Everything you need is within you now. We all have them. We don't recognize them. But I guarantee you, I will see them within each of you. And we will pull them out together along this journey in finding your voice. And I invite you to join me.
Absolutely. And there's something that I want to point out, because a lot of people, they're like, oh, group coaching, it's not as good as one-on-one. And I beg to differ. And the reason why I beg to differ is because there's something about group energy and having a camaraderie with the people around you. And you actually can learn faster and grow more and actually become more self-determined, determined for yourself when you're working with a group of people as opposed to one-on-one. for example, and I am not putting down therapy whatsoever, but most people don't graduate from therapy. They just keep going. So,
Well,
it's just kind of, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, though, that there is something about group coaching that you can't get when you do one-on-one. And it's a beautiful thing. So I would never want anybody to miss out on the opportunity because they thought, oh, well, I would prefer one-on-one. Well, there's such added bonuses to group coaching that you don't get one-on-one. So I wanted to make sure to point that out.
Thank you so much. That's true. And disclaimer, I am not a licensed therapist, so I don't have any of those kind of credentials. So that this is the experience of life that I went through and that I bring to each of you who join me on this journey. And I'm not going to say I figured life out because I believe we are always evolving, but I can teach from my own experiences. And it's interesting because I used to work, and it was for a nonprofit, so it was a non-paying position, but it was with women helping women. And it's funny because I took classes there and I taught classes there. And in my book, I actually write that I will always be a student of life and a teacher in life. Because as I learn, I can impart words and words of wisdom and actions for people to follow and impart words of advice upon them as well. So it's not that I've got it all figured out. As I said, coaches need coaches have coaches. And that's what life is about. You're up leveling yourself each way, each step along your own journey. And I just love to invite you to be a part of that with you in your life.
I think that that's beautiful too. And it makes you relatable because nobody wants to learn from somebody that's perfect. And nobody wants to learn from somebody that they can't reach that attainment. And I know that you are a fantastic teacher and that what you want for others is for them to even surpass you, because that's what a good teacher does. They want that for their students. So I love that you're doing this. And you're an amazing soul, Renee. And I'm so glad that you were able to come on the show today because I know you're changing the world in the most positive way. And it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So even perfect because we're talking about mental health. So
it is. One thing I would encourage is people to journal. If you don't have a journal, to get one. People are like, oh, I don't want to do one more thing. But it does help. It releases, it's releasing those things that are no longer serving you and replacing with things that do. Those I am statements are so powerful and empowering. I am beautiful. I am, amazing. I am whatever words. And don't just say things that you don't really believe. Say things that you feel you truly are. And the more you say them is to feel them. It's more than words. It's feelings that those words impart to impact you. So try to really feel this, but we will work on all of those in our group. I do also offer one-on-one for those who really are opposed to the group. I do offer one-on-one if they're interested, but absolutely, definitely join me, hook up with me, and we'll do this together.
Perfect. Renee, thank you so much for being on the show. It has been an hour. Can you believe it? Awesome. Well, thank you again. I'm going to make sure we pop that up one more time. So we'll see you soon, Renee. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I love her so much. I want to make sure I pop this up again as we say goodbye. That went so quickly. I wish we had an extra hour. Have a great night, everyone.